It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline, okay. Now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily. With positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
Joining us this week on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington, we've got Nesby Glasgow, a 14-year NFL vet. And Nesby, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on your show, Renee.
I would love to get into your seasons in the league. You were drafted in 1979. You had the opportunity to play with the Indianapolis Colts, also known as the Baltimore Colts. Then you also spent 5 years with the Seahawks. And I'm just curious, when you got drafted out of the University of Washington, you heard your name called. Take us through that experience of knowing you've made it, you've made that next step, you're heading to the NFL.
Well, first and foremost, I played in the Senior Bowl in '79, and I shattered my ankle. So
Oof.
there were talk that I may not be drafted or anything else. But what was funny, the day of the draft, I was on the phone with Don Shula, and that's who I really wanted to play for. And they had the 8th round draft pick before the Baltimore Colts and Ted Marchibroda. So I'm on the phone with him, and then, of course, back in the 70s, the phone beeped.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Coach Shula, it looks like Baltimore's trying to get a hold of me, although I hope it's not. But if it is, I just want you to know you are the guy that I really want to play for. And then sure enough, it was Ted Marchibroda. And the funny thing about the Colts was that we had a workout day at the University of Washington. And the head scout for the Colts came out to Seattle to work me out. And I remember when I saw him, I said, I can't think of his name now, but I asked him. I said, you didn't get the memo? I said, I shattered my ankle in the Senior Bowl. What do you mean workout? So, he had a perplexed look on his face, so evidently he didn't do his homework. I was like, how can you be the head scout and not know that I shattered my ankle in the Senior Bowl? But anyway, make a long story short, we had a nice conversation. We talked, and I got drafted by the Colts. And the funny thing, they told me the same thing that Don Shula had. Everybody expected me to be ready to play the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got drafted in the 8th round, I was really supposedly being drafted for the following year. But I wanted to prove them I could still play. And sure enough, I ended up starting my rookie year. So even after shattering my ankle. So that was the first obstacle I had to overcome. And when I did that, I knew I would be all right because I wasn't going to do nothing but get stronger and better after that rookie year.
Absolutely. And something I love about your story with what you just shared, and also what I know from your past, is that you always overcame those challenges and adversity. You were someone that was at times overlooked and people didn't really appreciate your talent, and you continue to prove people wrong and continue to step up to every challenge. And that's something you carried with you, as you talk about in that moment, but throughout your career. Take us through that adversity of getting into the league as a rookie and now having a new challenge to step into as you're in your first year and given an opportunity to start to now prove and show what you can do, and that mindset that you had.
Yeah, my rookie year. When I think back to it, I think about how I wasn't overwhelmed. I mean, I was always a smart player, even in high school. And when I talked to my high school coach to this day, he would have me play any and every position. I remember we had both quarterbacks get hurt. I never played quarterback. Guess what? I go and play quarterback and we win. And then I go back to my other position after that because, in fact, the guy that played quarterback for me in high school played with me on the Colts. In fact, on my 11 and 12 year-old Pop Warner team. I had 3 other guys from that team play in the National Football League. So I was always around talented guys, and we always had great high expectations. But probably more than anything, I played in the era where if your coach had a son on the team and he wasn't that good, he didn't start. When I watch my grandkids or my nephews when they were playing Pop Warner, I would always see kids that really had no business being on the football field. And when I saw that, I knew right away that their dad or uncle or somebody was coaching, and that's what they were on the football field. But back in my era, if you weren't good enough to start, even if your dad was the head coach, you weren't going to start. And so because they instilled that hard work in us, and they said that if you're the best player, you're going to be on the field, and they put the best players on the field. And that was the example that all the coaches that I played with had. They didn't allow their sons to play because they were their sons. They allowed their sons to play if their sons had the ability to earn that position. And I always remember that. And when I think back on my childhood, that truly is one of my fondest memories, because the way I see things today, I always see kids. In fact, I'll give you an example. My nephew was playing, and he's an outstanding young man now. He's at Harvard right now. In fact, the coaches wanted him to play football, but he just felt that he should focus on his education.
Oh, wow.
He's at one of the best universities in America.
Wow.
And that's the choice he made. And I'm so proud of him.
Yes, you have every right to be proud of him. I mean, that's incredible. So for you, looking back on your career, you talk about the way that the game has changed, and you've seen what you went through. You see what, as you mentioned, your next generation's going through with your nephews and what they all went through growing up. How do you think football has changed, aside from, and I think in all sports, I can also agree that I see a lot more parent involvement on both sides, whether it's just as coaches or just helicopter parents that aren't giving their kids the opportunity to grow, to learn, trusting their coaches. I mean, I still coach soccer. I still see it. So in terms of football, the game itself, how do you think the game has changed for the better or for the worse in your experience, in your own experience?
Well, I mean, I think that it's probably changed for the worse somewhat. And here's what I mean by that, is that because of the concussion issues and everything, is nowhere near as violent or as physical as it was when I played. And the one thing that bothers me the most is that if I was a defensive back coach and I had players on my team grab and hold the way players do today, I would do what I've always done. I mean, when I coached different levels that I coached at, I would always tell them, you need to come park next to me, and when you can figure out how to stop doing what you're doing, because you are my better player, then I'm not going to put you back on that football field. I mean, too many times you have defensive backs running with a guy, and they'll grab him just for the hell of grabbing him. I'm kind of like, how do coaches allow their players to use that technique or play that way? And to me, that's really kind of taken away from the game. I mean, it's almost like cheating. It's one thing to grab if a guy has a lead on you and he's about to make a touchdown grab. But he's running it out, so you have great position, and you grab him. That's never made sense to me.
That's a good point. I see that. I see that a lot in the game, where it's just some undisciplined and stupid.
Yeah.
Is the best way to say it.
No, it really is. It's undisciplined and it's stupid. But at the end of the day, it's what coaches allow you to do. And I'm going to put more blame on the coach than the player, because it's the coach's responsibility to allow young men to play a certain way. And if you allow your players to grab and do all those dumb things, because that same guy, like you said, make that dumb play, and the next game he's starting.
Yes. So we'll take a step back from that. We might revisit it.
Okay.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I see that a lot where it's just a lot of questionable, stupid plays, and even at the highest level in the NFL, you see it. But
Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah.
for you looking back on your career, having the opportunity to play with the Colts and the Seahawks, take which team, or maybe you can touch on both teams. How do you feel like you really evolved as a player and a person during your time with the Colts and with the Seahawks? Was there a specific person or a specific experience that you really felt like shaped you as a person to be the man that you are today?
I think that I remember my first start for the Colts. Bruce Laird was a strong safety, a real good strong safety. And his best friend, Lyle Blackwood, was the starting free safety who they had me replace. And I remember when I got in the huddle, Bruce tried to undress me and let me know how hurt he was because, they're having a rookie, replace his best friend on the team. And I better do this or I better do that. And I remember, I think I didn't get upset. I had such a calm rebuttal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like I said, Bruce, when this game is over, that's when we need to have this conversation. And I remember when the game was done, he apologized to me because he said, you were absolutely right. I had no business talking to you the way I did. And I want you to know you did a great job out there today. And so that kind of got me going in the right direction. And I got accepted right away from the guys because anybody that knows me would tell you that I was one of the most fearless guys they've ever played with. And I was never afraid to run into anyone. And that includes Christian Okoye, as big as he was. I would never back down and let anyone push me around and hurt my feelings. And can I share one of my wonderful stories with you?
Oh, absolutely. Please do.
Because almost every offensive coach I ran into that was an offensive coach for the Cleveland Browns in 1984, they always tell a story about how that game, they realized how good of a player I was. And so they wanted to know what happened. Well, the year before when we played against Cleveland, their fullback, I can't think of his name, and I wish I could. He was a big, strong guy. We hit each other on the goal line, and that was one of the few times in my life I felt myself going backwards. And he stepped on me and left a cleat mark on my chest. And so the next year, I was excited when I saw we had Cleveland on our schedule. So when I was talking to, that doesn't work at Alabama, and one of their coaches, he was on that offensive coaching team for the Cleveland Browns. And sure enough, he brought up that game, the second game. Not, the first game, when they fullback ran me over and scored a touchdown, they were excited. And I said, when he ran me over and left a cleat mark on me, I said, man, I can't wait to play against Cleveland again. And I was so glad when I saw them on our schedule. I ended up putting him on his butt. I ended up knocking one of my childhood idols out of the game, and I can't think of his name, but he was a great running back at Oklahoma. They had a big old receiver at Cleveland, and I knocked him out of the game. And then I remember all the coaches kept saying, because I only weighed like $179, I can't believe, how strong he is, but there's no way he's going to have a long career hitting big guys like that. But I was very fortunate. From the time I could first start playing football, I had a hard body. I could always run into big guys and win those battles most of the time. So I was never afraid to run into bigger guys and actually put them on their butt. And when you ask my teammates, that's what I was known for. I was known for knocking big guys down. And that includes Christian Okoye. When we played against Kansas City, same thing happened the year before. He ran my little ass over, and he ran almost the whole defense over. And this is when I'm playing with the Seattle Seahawks, because I started with Baltimore, then I moved the team to Indianapolis.
Right.
And then I left there and went to Seattle. And Tom Catlin was one of the greatest, if not, I would say the greatest defensive coordinator I played for in the National Football League. And I remember the entire week, he would get to that one play where he ran us all over and turn the projector off. So Saturday night, he gets to that play, and he turns the projector off. I stand up, and I say, Tomcat, that was his nickname, let it play. He looks at me, and I really had to change my voice. I said, Tomcat, let it play. So he let it play. So he runs it all over, and I stand up, and I challenged my teammates, and I said, if you're not ready to knock this big, strong-ass football player's dick in the dirt tomorrow, excuse my language, that's what I said. I said, don't come out there with me. And I got a chance to do that to him, and I did. And after that, it was like, sharks smelling blood. I mean, my teammates went crazy. We ended up winning the game, and, we ended up knocking the crap out of him. And that was one of my greatest moments. But that also let me know just, once again, how fearless I was.
Mm.
Because most guys would have never want to, challenge a guy like that again. And so when they saw me running into him by myself and take him down the way I did, that's probably when that night is when I became a legend with my teammates, when I told Tom Catlin to play it again. And
Wow.
Dave Craig was telling me that some of his best friends, they had old footage and stuff. And he said he didn't realize that I had hit Christian Okoye that hard during the game, because he said his friends was, man, this dude Nesby Glasgow team, he's a badass, blah blah blah. So anyway, he said he saw it and he couldn't believe I did what I was able to do. And it's like I said, I've won most of those individual battles when I've run into people that are bigger than me, stronger than me, and faster than me, and I've been able to knock them down or come back and make a play on them.
Wow. I'm glad you shared that, because that speaks to, you hit a lot of life skills, a mentality that you just have to bring as a competitor, that, you were able to own up to what you did, stand up and say, I'm not going to let that happen again. In fact, I'm going to come back 10 times harder and knock you down, and
Pretty
take
much.
it to you. Yes. So I love that consistent thread we've been hearing from you, and all that you've been sharing is your ability to stand up to a challenge, not back down, face it, deal with it, get through it. And a couple years ago, you had a new challenge that you faced as you were diagnosed with cancer. And, I think it speaks volumes to your fight against cancer as the same fight you had on the field as a football player, the same fight you probably have in every other aspect of your life, that you're able to stand up and fight it, and be actively part of the Seahawks annual Crucial Catch game. You're not hiding from this, you're facing it. So for our listeners, can you let them in a little bit on your journey after you were diagnosed in March of 2018?
Well, I mean, it's kind of that's always been my nature, is not to run away or give up. But this right here has been amazing, because even when I feel bad, I can't remember the last time I went in for a checkup and my vitals weren't high. I mean, even when I feel tired and run down and I get my checkup, my vitals are high, and I'm always having positive self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to fight to the end. It gets tough, but I got 10 grandkids, and I'm not quitting on them.
Aww. It sounds like you're a fighter, and I'm sure they're so proud of you watching your journey and watching your fight through this, because I know you and I were talking before, and you had, you had a tough time a little while ago, and I just commend you for fighting through it and continuing to be so positive, and showing those around you. I think that's something to see, for anyone to see a strong role model in their life be able to stand up to one of the hardest challenges when you are fighting for your life. It's one thing to be strong on the field, but to be fighting for your life and be fighting the way that you are, I'm sure the imprint that you're leaving on your grandkids is probably out of this world, to show them, look what grandpa's doing, you know?
Well, you don't stand a chance if you're not willing to fight, and that's what I think about all the time. I mean, you can't just talk about these things. You have to actually live them, and
Mm-hmm.
and and have that self-talk, every day about, who you are, how did you get from point A to point B, and the things you've done in the past, and what's made you different. And, like I said, I have so many teammates that are so proud of me. I'm not going to quit.
Yeah. Wow. So what's your, I mean, everyone kind of has their motto or something that motivates them and keeps them going. I'm sure without a doubt it's your grandkids, but what's something that you maybe tell yourself or remind yourself to get through hard times, because you are a fighter, you're a legend in all that you've done over the course of your life. So for someone listening that might be struggling with their own battle, whatever it may be, what's something that you tell yourself to keep focused, stay positive, and keep fighting?
Well, for me in particular, I've had so many wins, and I always think about those. I think about my teammates. I get so many messages from the guys I play with and against, and that inspires me.
Mm-hmm. That support system.
And so it's kind of like, you have too much going on to give up. So, and that's not part of your vocabulary. So stay in this fight, expect to overcome it, and just keep fighting. And that's what I do every day.
Aw. I wish you all the best, and you're in my prayers getting through this.
But
I
thank
know
you.
you're a fighter, so I know you'll continue to fight and get through it too. So, Nesby, where can our listeners follow you, keep up with what you're doing on social media and everything?
Well, I'm not a huge social media guy. I'm trying to think. I do a little bit on Facebook, but the other one I cannot think of it. Dog.
Twitter. You're
I have a
you're
buddy of
pretty
mine
active
that
on
he
Twitter.
actually Twitter. Thank you.
Yes, you're active
Yeah,
on Twitter.
yeah. I have a lot of stuff going on Twitter and stuff. So, the thing about it, I have so many people that are are well wishers for me,
Mm-hmm.
and that in and of itself gives me a great advantage, over other people that don't have people that call up and remind you about, what happened what happened, back in the day and all this. And so when I get all these people calling me to remind me about all the things that I've been able to overcome in my life, uh, that just increases my uh, self-talk story, so to speak.
Mm.
Makes me always reminisce that, when things weren't going right, you can give up. You know, you are who you are, and when things don't go right, don't necessarily beat yourself up, but say, hey, the next time I'm going to get it right. And that was one of my favorite sayings. The next time I'm going to get it right, and I believe that more times than not, the next time I got it right. So even to this day, that's something I always say to myself. When things don't work out the way I anticipated, I always say to myself, the next time I'm going to get it right. I don't beat myself up like I see a lot of other people. So
Mm-hmm.
the next time I'm going to get it right. And more times than not, the next time I get it right.
Hmm. You're such an inspiration. I mean, I think something that I'm just getting from talking to you is just a reminder that we're each going through our own individual battles in life, whether it's financial, health, relationships, social, looking for that next job, whatever it may be, trying to provide for
Hmm.
our families. And as you mentioned, just keeping the right outlook and mindset to keep going. And when you have the right people in your corner and you have a support system like you have, which sounds like a tremendous family, friends, former teammates, colleagues that are rooting for you, as well as the mentality that you're going to overcome whatever life throws at you, you can be unstoppable. So thank you so
Well,
much.
for me, can I say one more thing? For me, I was
absolutely.
blessed. I was blessed with a great family. Even though my parents got divorced, my mother poured so much love into us that it was just unbelievable. It was easy to grow up in a family without a father because my mother just always had expectations for all of us, and she let us know how much she cared about us and, what her expectations were. Until this day, I mean, she's in her mid 80s and she goes for a walk every day.
Wow.
So I mean, she's a strong black woman and she poured all that energy and belief into her kids. And so, I mean, so I was fortunate that way too. She said, always believe you can overcome anything that gets in your way, son. As long as you're willing to put the work in and the time, more times than not, you will be able to overcome it. And that was something else I always remember that she shared with me.
Mm-hmm.
Stay in the fight. Like even when I'm dealing with my cancer, it's like that's always popping in my head. That saying. So I was really truly fortunate that way. I grew up in the streets of Compton, and got a little crazy, a little rough at times, but it also I didn't lose my way, thank goodness, because I had a great mom, and she poured so much of herself into me and the rest of my sisters and brothers. So it's just, like I said, I played for great Pop Warner coaches, and my high school coach was one of the best coaches I ever played for, and so I just had such a solid base. And so it wasn't just about me; it was about everybody that supported me, and so it was never just about me letting myself down. It was about me letting everybody that had poured so much into me down. And so even to this day, it's about us, not about me. And so as long as I continue to stay in this battle and fight hard for us, I'm going to stay stronger. I'm overcoming. I'm going to last as long as I possibly can. I know that because I'm always thinking about everybody that played a role in my life. And I'm not about to give up and let them down right now.
Right. You're definitely a fighter, and you're a legend for what you did on and off the field, more off the field than just on the field. So I thank you so much for joining our episode of Beyond the Headlines with Renee Watching this week. You are in my prayers. I'm rooting for you, and I wish nothing but the best for you, Nesby Glasgow. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Renee, and I wish the best for you as well. So it was a pleasure chatting with you. And, always have a positive self-talk, even when things don't go right for you. Have a positive self-talk, and that, next time I'm going to get it right, it actually works.
I'm definitely taking that and applying it to every aspect of my life. Definitely.
All righty.
I love that.
You take care.
Thank you.